You're listening to the UoR Music Podcast. Hello and welcome to the UoR Music Podcast. I'm James Smith, and always I'm joined by my good friend Ben Stone. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. I don't like the nod I just did there, but I'm good.
You're good.
Very good.
This week we're talking about dance. Do you know much about dance? Are you a bit of a mover?
I'm awful at dance. I cannot, for the life of me, dance. But I do love to watch Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh, I'm not as dedicated to it as you are, but I have enjoyed watching it, especially since living with you. It has been good fun. Do you know much about dance? Beyond, watching Strictly?
I know waltzes and 3/4.
Yeah, that's very important to know. I knew that.
I know, you got to have some swivel if you're doing a Charleston.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I know about the hip action in Latin dances.
Hip action. If you're doing a salsa and that hip isn't moving the entire time, then what's the point?
What's your go-to? Say you're at the disco or at the club. You remember what one of those is? It's been a long time, but a club. What sort of song will get you up and get you moving?
I always find it awkward in a club to dance because I'm just crammed in with so many people. And I remember the one time, it was in the first week of uni, before uni had actually started, and you're going to a club in town, but it's a very small club and it's the first week, so everyone's crammed in there. And there was literally no space to move, and it was like a Hawaiian night, so I was wearing a coconut bra, being extra.
I think we'll have to see this on the podcast.
Exclusive for the YouTube viewers. And my dance move then was just wiggling my shoulders because it was the only thing I could do whilst trying to get some air in my lungs.
I mean, I kind of have a go-to. I like to hold a drink.
Yeah.
Because then you just kind of can stand sort of still, but do sort of a bit of a head bob to the music. But unless I'm listening to some of my cheesy favourites, then I'll get a bit more move.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If I've got music blaring out in the kitchen or my room and nobody else is there, I will pretend that I am the best dancer in the world. But that's for my eyes only. That's for that's my happy place.
Yeah, I think. What is it they say? Dance like no one is watching.
Because when no one's watching, it's the best time to dance.
You can do what you want.
Yeah. What about you? What's your go-to dance move apart from holding a cup? What's your go-to dance move?
I mean,
the supermarket trolley,
the lawn mower. No, I do one called the dad dance, which is basically you get your kind of in your fists and you sort of do a train motion, wiggle your shoulders a bit.
Yeah.
Just get you moving and just bob your head.
I mean, we're young guys in our 20s, and dad dancing is probably how I describe us.
Yeah, I think if there's a way to describe our inner personality, dad dancing is a good way to express it outwardly.
What a shame! What a shame! I tell a lie. I do have a signature move, but I only do it if I get a group to do it with me. The box step.
Oh, I've seen you doing the box step.
And you get quicker and quicker, and that's wonderful.
Actually, we have a signature move.
We do, yeah.
And if anyone has ever seen us at karaoke,
oh yeah,
or at a party together, that we do break it out.
All our listeners, obviously, only people we know.
Yeah, it's the old, I stand behind you, and you go one way, I go the other, and we click, sort of switch. Yeah. But it looks, I think it looks quite good.
Yeah.
But that's the extent of our dancing. Should we talk about some actual dances?
Yeah, let's talk about some actual.
Because, and I do say, as musicians, when it comes to dancing, I don't think I've got the best rhythm. I don't know.
No comment. Actually, if we're going back to actual dancing, let's talk about Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh,
the show. Fun fact. They do, especially like for the final, they do little pieces. They go around and find people in the public and they ask them, who do you think's going to win, or have you been enjoying the series? I was in Reading town, believe it or not, being the UoR Music Podcast, that tends to be where I am. And I was with a mate, and we were at the shopping centre, and this camera crew come up, and they're the Strictly camera crew. And I was they were promoting, looking at the Elton John film, Rocket Man. So they had a little piano out there, and I can't play piano, unlike James or a pianist. And I'm just
what do you mean, James or a pianist? Don't I come as James or pianist like James?
Sure. So anyway, I'm at the piano, and I'm just messing about with my mate because, the camera crew, I go, can you play the Strictly theme on piano? Can you play the Strictly theme on piano? And I'm there going, oh God. And I managed, it took me like a few seconds, and I managed to figure it out, like just a one-tune melody thing, not like a chord magnificent performance. And somewhere, they didn't use it. In fact, they didn't use any of my interview because I said like the word, I was just...
I know what you said because you've told me, and I'm going to say it if you don't say it.
Okay, I was very pressured, and they get, say something about, Stacey Dooley, she was in the show, and I was like, okay, Stacey Dooley, I think she's going to win because she's, and then they were just like batting up words to me. They're going like, I don't know, fun, energetic, cheeky, and I drew on to the last word they said, and I'm like, because Stacey Dooley's cheeky.
I just wish they used that. just used. They go, oh, Stacey Dooley, she's cheeky. Anyway, Strictly itself, you love it.
The music's always drawn me. I do love, the band playing, and when you're just watching TV and there's a good couple on, they're doing like a really good dance with great music from a live band. It just makes me happy.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the live band because that's probably my favourite part of Strictly Come Dancing. I know it should be the dancing, but seeing Dave Arch and his live band,
his singers are great.
They're so incredible. They're so versatile as well. Do you know that I've seen numerous interviews with Dave Arch, and he basically explained that he kind of gets a track list on the Monday. Has the week, so he's by trade is a composer and arranger as well as a pianist, and just a very talented musician. And he gets kind of the track list on the Monday, and by the Friday, he's arranged and sorted out all the music for the different parts that he has in the band. The rhythm section come in on a Friday, do their bit, and then like the horns and everything doesn't do it till the night. It's just incredible, and they are just
puts us to shame.
Yeah, and I think it makes such a difference to the show, though. I think it would lose a lot of magic if they just used backing tracks,
especially since some of the dances are very specific and they cut this out and all that.
And that's the beauty of it, is they can adjust things about the music to make it fit the types of dance, because obviously dance requires certain dances require very specific qualities of the music, and there are only a certain number of songs that meet that criteria. So sometimes you've got to take other songs and slightly tweak that. What's your favourite dance to watch?
Ooh. It depends on the couple and the dance. Charleston is always fun. I love a Viennese waltz. American smooth as well. I'm just listing off dances here. I'll tell you what, I can tell you what I don't like. I don't like the cha-cha-cha because I always feel that they always do them in like week one of the show. So naturally, they're never as good as the later dances.
I like the cha-cha-cha because it's fun to say. The cha-cha-cha.
The cha-cha-cha.
The cha-cha-cha.
The triple cha.
The cha-cha-cha-cha.
I used to not be a fan of the tango, but this most recent series, I really enjoyed the tango.
I think the tango, I mean, from what I've seen, I think the tango looks quite good because there's a lot of like passion and
the Argentine tango is insane.
I really enjoyed in the series that was just on Bill Bailey's hip hop routine.
Oh, that street commercial, yeah. They started adding Couple's Choice.
What are your opinions on a show like Strictly Come Dancing that is at heart a ballroom show? Do you think it's important that they include those other sort of art forms of dance? Those street dance, commercial.
I think it's it's good because they're very entertaining and they always end up being crowd pleasers. And I'm afraid Toza did a jazz dance one year and that was absolutely insane. Obviously, I hope it sticks to its ballroom and Latin roots because there are other shows which do, the other options of dance. You get Dancers Gone, Britain's Got Talent. You got The Greatest Dancer, which focuses on any type of dance. I think it's important to start, doing other stuff to play with the format. But, and I think they are great. The Couple's Choices are great.
Would you ever go on Strictly Come Dancing? You would.
It's the only reason I would be happy with getting famous is to go on Strictly Come Dancing.
So if you were to go on the show,
which I would in a heartbeat,
which dance would you most be looking forward to doing?
I mean, I think the jive, but I think that'd be the most exhausting one. So I think I would, hate myself for saying the jive now if I ever did do it. But the jive just looks so cool.
No, I like
all the American Smooth.
I do like the quicker ones, but I do love watching the Viennese waltz. That can be so beautiful.
Danny Mac and Oti Mabuse, that partnership was 2016. They did an American Smooth like in the first few weeks, and it was like already like weeks ahead of themselves.
So let's move on to some other dancing shows, because there are other dancing shows available.
There's The Greatest Dancer. That's got the guy from Glee, Cheryl Cole, and Oti Mabuse as judges. Oti's won the past 2 series that they've done it as a judge because they sort of become mentors. They're not really judges, they're mentors. Basically, the audition is the dancer goes in and into this sort of like, it doesn't all like, looks like a normal dance studio. But the audience, they're behind doors and the audience can see what they're doing, but they can't see the audience. And then the 3 mentors are there, and the audience have to turn on their lights if they like them, and only if they get to a certain amount, then the doors open, and they keep doing their routine until they finish, but with the audience watching, and then they pick a mentor, yada yada, and then the competition sort of goes on from there.
So a little, I mean, not really much like it, but a little bit like kind of The Voice.
A little bit like The Voice, yeah.
The dance.
But it's funny as well because you get some where but the judges can see it the entire time, and you get some. I think it was like they had a ballet couple on doing like some amazing ballet or something else like that. Some sort of old classical sort of dancer. You wouldn't expect to find those people sort of getting into these days, but it's fantastic. And all 3 of the mentors were there going, this is like some of the best dancing we have ever seen. Why aren't the audience? And the audience just weren't clicking the buttons. And the mentors got so annoyed with the audience because if they don't get the buttons and the doors don't open, they don't see them afterwards. They just have to walk off. Oh. And they just go, and that's their thing. It. But he was such a good dancer. And the mentors were so mad at the audience.
Well, it's good that you bring up ballet, because I was just going to talk about other dance forms. So ballet, for example, I remember going to see Billy Elliot when I was younger, and I loved it, and I thought it was just so spectacular seeing some of the ballet that was involved in that show. And I haven't actually really had the chance to go and see a proper ballet. I've seen like Swan Lake. I've seen a filmed version of that.
I saw a Russian ballet thing. I can't remember what it's called. Live streamed in a cinema on an English trip, believe it or not. We were studying The Great Gatsby, and especially with the feel of Great Gatsby, we watched it and we went, that was nothing to do with The Great Gatsby whatsoever. It's really interesting. It's because it's sort of like the opera of dance. The music's there, and you're focusing on the moment of the storytelling through other means other than speaking. And
I find it so incredible to watch how much they interact with the music, and the music, is so influential over where the dance goes. I think it's wonderful to watch. Not that I have personal experience myself, but ballet, from what I hear, is one of the hardest dance forms that there is, and certainly to become the top of the ballet game, to be one of the top prima donna ballerinas, you have to work so hard, and it takes so much strain physically and mentally, I think. And there's been controversy over the years about how ballerinas are treated in ballet schools and things like that, but we won't get into that today. But just when you see these performers come on the stage, and it just looks so effortless, and it's just incredible to watch, and just mind-boggling to know how much work has gone into that, and how much effort they're putting in that moment. How much strain they're putting in on their bodies. It's like the swan analogy, where swimming gracefully on the surface, but underneath the legs are working so hard, and it's just so beautiful to watch.
Again, we are not experts in dance. This is the most what's the phrase? This is the most
the punter's eye view.
Of
dance. So, are there any other types of dance that kind of take your fancy?
Tap. I would love to be able to tap dance. I had a friend try and teach me once at school, and it didn't go well.
Why not?
I didn't have the motivation.
I'd love to be able to learn to tap dance as well, actually, and I love the idea of being able to sort of do some crooning in front of a big band.
Yeah.
One of my favourite big band songs is Mr. Bojangles, and especially the Sammy Davis Jr. version. And if you've ever seen a video of him performing it live, where he does the tap dance as well at the same time as singing, it's good. I'd love to learn to be able to do that. If someday, I would love to have the opportunity to do that with a big band, maybe the University of Reading Big Band day.
I'll tell you what that reminds me of. Bruce Forsyth, the ultimate entertainer, tap dance, ballroom dance, singing, just host with the most. That's the ideal man to be.
In fact, I used to watch Strictly a lot more. Look at this, linking it back.
Oh,
I used to watch Strictly a lot more when Brucey was on.
Yeah.
And I just used to love at the start where he'd do his little sort of routine, and he used to perform as well
and
every now and then.
He used to do an Anton de Beck. I can't believe we haven't talked about Anton when we're talking about Strictly. I love Anton de Beck. I think they did Me and My Shadow, and it's Brucey and Anton. And the relationship between those two, as they danced, sang, and just performed, it's just something.
It was a very, very sad loss when we did lose Brucey.
He definitely held on.
Yeah. But he was such a performer.
Yeah.
Well, look at us. We brought it right back round to where we started.
It's almost as if this is planned.
How did it feel? Did it affect your playing at all?
Well, it damaged our egos.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm joking. So this week we are joined by Richard Sawyer, who is currently the team captain for the Reading University Ballroom and Latin Society, or RUBLS, but he was also the president last year, and you've been a member since you started?
Yes, I was. Hello, gents.
So, hello, Rich. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's getting colder nowadays, but I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back in Reading.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yes.
I mean, not that it really makes a difference whether you're here or
you're just stuck
in
inside,
Scotland, in the Highlands. You're still going to be stuck inside.
So we've been talking a lot about dance this week, and we thought who better to talk to than one of the top student dancers.
I forgot to mention that you are in fact a dancer yourself.
I am indeed. You're making me blush.
So just tell us a little bit about you, really, to start off with. Where did the dance and the music all kind of start for you?
I was definitely a musician before I was a dancer. Like that, I can say for definite. I started piano lessons when I was in year 3. The classic age. They take you along to some teacher your sister or brother might have been to. And it just kind of goes from there, I'm sure, as you both know. And I did that for a couple of years. Then I went to saxophone when I joined secondary school, which is what me and Ben bonded over. Unfortunately, I can't afford a tenor as much as I'd love one, so I just kind of admire Ben from a distance. So I did that for a couple of years. I tried my hand at things like, musical direction and arranging. And that's still part of my daily life right now, actually. I still have guitar in my room. My saxophone's somewhere in that closet. It's not the most easy thing to get out, but I still really love playing. So in terms of dancing, it's a bit weird for me, really, because my family are all really performative. My sister is Glinda in Wicked on the West End right now. Well, will be when it reopens. But yeah, that was a big thing growing up because she's much older than me. So I had this sister on the stage, getting around, getting on the West End, getting out there. Then there was just me just starting secondary school. So there was always that kind of presence in my family. But my mum was a ballet dancer. My dad wasn't, unsurprisingly.
Oh, he could have been.
Yeah, Billy Elliot. He could have been a young Billy Elliot.
Who was it? Someone Rudolph Nureyev. Is he a famous ballet dancer?
I can't remember, I'm afraid. I'm not too
I don't know anything
familiar about it. My brother was a tap dancer, and then there was just me who hated dancing for about 18 years. Like, genuinely, there would be all these dance DVDs, dance shows that they'd all be going to, and I'd just not be interested, And then it just changed when I came to uni. I went to the RUBLS Taster Session, as I'm sure many people go to. and yeah, it just kind of grew from there. Yeah, I got really, really into it. So by second year, I was able to be elected president. And since really, I've been competing across the UK. I've been to Blackpool several times now. Yeah, I've been up and down the country competing against other unis and whatnot. Yeah, it's really good fun. Although completely not what I was expecting if you asked me before I came to university, to be honest.
So because I've seen you dance, and I wasn't expecting you to come out and say, you know, before university, I just, you know, wasn't interested in it. That's really incredible, actually. You came to university and just, you know, kind of went, oh, that sounds like I'll give that a go, and then it's turned into something that actually has become, you know,
you've certainly become very involved. I mean, for two people not in the society, it's hard to ignore RUBLS. Not that we would want to, but you know, and especially during lockdown, I've noticed the society's been doing a lot for the members to keep them sort of engaged and busy and having something to do, which has been great. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it's been like doing dance in lockdown?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, the elephant in the room is that you can't really have a ballroom full of people dancing together since lockdown. So all that kind of thing has gone out the window. But one thing about this kind of world I'm in of ballroom dancing is that a lot of people don't realize how like competitive it is. So I'm sure part of the reason we haven't given up is that because we see all our other rivals haven't given up either. So we're all like trying a little bit harder to try and get the edge on, you know, Cambridge or Oxford or God, whoever else is in the circuit. So we've been doing things like there's been online lessons since I think October. We've been doing like challenges, like TikTok challenges, where we just make our own routines and put them on. There's been, you know, the kind of bog standard quizzes and socials. Yeah, it's just nice to keep going because RUBLS has always kind of prided itself on being like a family. So like, you know, a family doesn't stop when they can't see each other. So it's been really nice actually, still keeping in contact with people when like, you know, I haven't seen a lot of them for nearly a year now.
How important would you say that, you know, being part of, you know, well, being part of a society in general, but particularly something like RUBLS, where it's, you know, like you say, it's such a close-knit family. How important has that been for your wider university experience?
I definitely say being in RUBLS was a blessing in disguise because obviously when as I said, I was a dancer before I came to uni. But then when I joined and really got into it, it was a like complete break of expectations for me. So I came in being like, oh, you know, I'm a boy. I like to dance. I'm not just here to, you know, get close to somebody. And so when you kind of get that out of the way, it kind of feels like, I don't know, it just felt like I didn't have to like pretend to be a stereotype or try to be anyone who I wasn't. And I actually found through myself that dancing was something that I really fit into, just never acknowledged. So like, I mean, as you guys know, I was in RUDS and I was the musical director for our house. And like, I've been in musical theatre for several years. But when I came to uni, I really discovered that, you know, obviously you've got singing, acting and dancing in musical theatre. And I absolutely adore music and I love dancing. But like, acting wasn't really a strong point for me or something I was so interested in. So I just, by taking up dancing at uni, I realized that I could do all the things I loved without having to act. I mean, no offense to RUDS, I do love them very dearly and I've got a lot of friends still there who will probably be a bit shocked to hear that. But and nothing against them, you know, acting is a wonderful form and I really enjoyed it. I just couldn't do it very well.
Slightly moving on, but also you talked about earlier about the competitive side of dance. Would you say then that it kind of leans more towards being a sport than sort of an art form when it's in this guise of sort of ballroom dancing, or would you say it's very much an even split between the two, sort of that bridge between music and sport?
So ballroom dancing in the kind of community is actually called a term called dance sport, which was coined, I think, in the late 1980s to appeal to the Olympic Committee to try and treat it as a sport for Olympics. And I believe nowadays it is big enough to be an Olympic sport, but there are already several governing bodies. there are like international boards, international competitions, and a worldwide scene, so that they've already got their own world games.
They've introduced breakdancing.
Yeah, the breakdance is coming to the next Olympics.
And you know, they have figure skating at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
So it's not beyond the realms of possibility,
No.
I suppose.
It's not at all. And there's things like there's team matches where, you know, you'll get Team USA, Team China. Yeah, the first one took place in the Blackpool Winter Gardens, I believe, in 1910. And that is a big thing. Yes, ballroom dancing has evolved very much from an art form into a competitive sport nowadays. And a lot of people don't know that. That's where, you know, all the Strictly professionals come from. Like Neil Jones, he was 6th in the world before he joined Strictly. Anton Tibet, classical champion, ballroom champion, Erin Bogue, Pasha Kovalev, Karen Hardy, the Cutlers. The list really goes on. All these famous dancers came from a competitive background where they would train for several days a week, win these international championships, and then go on to be Strictly professionals, which is what makes them so good, essentially. So yeah, I definitely say ballroom dancing has evolved more from a kind of art form with cultural origins into a more kind of competitive sport.
So talking about the Strictly professionals, you and I, Rich, share a little bit of history I mean, more so you, in making Strictly Come Reading. Do you want to talk a little bit about what Strictly Come Reading was?
Yes, absolutely. So Strictly Come Reading was kind of my baby that I drew up at 2 a.m. in first year after I found out I was going to become president, and that's a true story. You can ask my vice president. So what it was is we got representatives from other societies. So we had trampolining, we nearly got bandsock. We had rugby, amazingly. That was a complete surprise even for me. We had trampolining, we had tap and modern, we had drama, and they trained with one of us for several weeks and then performed on this kind of charity night. And then all the donations that all the proceeds we made were donated to the winner's charity of choice. So last year, Rachel Penny from Cornwall won with one of my friends, Tommy, and we ended up donating something like £950 to Mind, which is a mental health charity in Berkshire, which I'm sure really needed it over the pandemic. So, you know, there were a lot of really worthwhile charities there. There were the Injured Players League from Felix, the rugby captain. There was Bloodline into, I believe it was research into blood cancer. There was Berkshire Ecology Conservation. There was Chance to Dance, which was providing like kind of dance lessons to less fortunate kids. There are a lot of really worthwhile kind of qualities and properties to these charities and people. And it was really nice to kind of, well, for one, put RUBLS, you know, in the spotlight for one night where, you know, you couldn't really ignore us. And then just donate all those money to a really good cause. You're right there, Ben. It was one of the last things I did before lockdown. And in truth, I do remember the night before thinking to myself, what could happen if still, and, you know, here we are a whole year later. So it was quite a surreal experience because I remember just feeling like it was coming and like just trying to get it done before things got worse. So yeah, I'm really proud we put it on.
Well, if we sort of talk about the event as a whole, you mentioned, you know, you got representatives from other societies. Were you surprised with sort of the level of effort and the sort of the results that you got out of those non-dancers? Because from a non-dancer point of view, they were fantastic.
Oh, they were brilliant.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the celebrities, if I may call them that, absolutely blew me away. You know, I remember from week one, my dance partner Abby from RUTV, absolutely like floored with what she was capable of, and it was really nice to see these people because they clearly worked really hard. You know, Felix, the rugby captain, and Aidan, the mixed hockey social sec, both of them had never danced before. And I think you guys remember Felix's samba was an absolute...
Oh, Felix's samba.
That was a joy to watch.
That was just heaven on earth.
I could not agree more. It was absolutely fantastic to see what these guys achieved. And just like, you know, I'm just glad that I could give back to their hard work with like giving them funds to support something that they believed in. So, Rachel had Mind in mind. I'm just really glad that they got that chance to support these charities as well.
Now, for a little bit of self promo, just for the two of us here, James is going to be rolling his eyes, going, "Oh God!" If you want to watch Strictly Come Reading, it was part of a collaboration with RUTV, which I used to be a committee member for, and it's in 2 parts on the RUTV YouTube channel, and you can see Rich showing off his stuff, and you can see the whole night on that YouTube channel if you want to go and watch that.
And you can hear my voice.
Oh yeah, and James does the voiceover for it.
So
he does.
He does the voiceover.
So
I'll put a link
if anything pushes you to go and watch it,
I'll put a link in the YouTube description. And
we are also performing on it. We're playing our
the jazz band, the RUBLS jazz band performs in it.
The RUBLS jazz band.
Well,
memories.
Bringing that up, how important do you feel that collaboration between all these different societies? Because what we've listed off there is at least 6, 7 societies that have some form of link to it.
Let alone the actual celebrities. Just the actual event itself has got 3.
Yeah, we had RUMS, we had RUBLS, obviously, we had RUTV,
and then all the celebrity societies.
And all those societies kind of came to watch and support their friends, who kind of turned it into a social event for them. How important do you feel that was to the kind of the success of the event?
I think it was really integral, in honesty, because on one hand, you can't have celebrities that have a bit of a fan base. But yeah, I mean, just listing all the ones, and I think off the top of my head, we had something like 13 societies involved, which I think was unprecedented from what I've seen, really. I think it was really, really integral, because it then allowed societies that, don't have a whole lot to do with each other. For example, rugby, rugby and ballroom dance doesn't happen very often. I wish it did, but it doesn't. To have those guys, take part in this charity event, and kind of like breaking down those boundaries, I think was a really good thing. Obviously we had people like tap and modern and drama who we're a bit more familiar with, but even then, it was a really good crossover event, I think. And it
was lovely as well, because there was also that opportunity to showcase your own members of your society, because they did sort of those group dances as well.
Yeah.
So you just generally all around, it was just really lovely to see, just see what your society was all about, but also, how others were kind of able to get involved. And I think you've said this, but it did put RUBLS even more so on the map of kind of one of the, as a society at the university.
I would like to point out how it also put jazz band in the spotlight, and there was a cute little crossover there during the second break.
There was a part of the night where the jazz band did accompany a dance, and we were talking a little bit earlier about the Dave Arch and his band on Strictly Come Dancing. In your experience, first of all, have you had experience dancing with a live band, doing a ballroom routine?
Yeah, I have. I think honestly, a live band makes all the difference, but there's a lot of things in music that, as a pianist and a saxophonist, I'd never considered in my life until I became a dancer. When I became a dancer, after being a musician for so long, I learned about a lot of important aspects of music that I never considered. So when I became a dancer, I realized that in a way I was becoming part of the band. When you're on a stage, there's a lot of collaboration in things like jazz, which I played a lot of. You don't realize that once you're not just listening and you want to do something with that music, you are part of that stage. You are listening to what's going on. So I learned the importance of, being in a pocket, being in a groove, being in a swing, the importance of, the difference between a 4 on the floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, between, a swing like a 1, 2, a 3, 4, a 5, 6. There was a lot of these kind of rhythms and phrasings that I'd never considered until I had to do something with them, with my feet.
So would you say then that in turn doing dance has then in fact helped you improve your musicianship as a musician?
Oh, I would absolutely say that dancing has completely revolutionized the way I view myself as a musician. So, for example, just my day-to-day listening habits. Before I came to uni, I loved a lot of jazz, classic rock and whatnot. But then once I became a dancer, I became really interested in a much broader array of songs. that shared aspects like pockets, swing rhythms, samba rhythms, Latin rhythms, different, and like the focus of time signatures. Oh, funny story when time signatures. So I'm sure, James, as you remember when we did grades and you had to clap out, like the time signature. Do you remember these?
Yeah. The oral tests.
And I would always be like, is that 2 or is that 4 or is that 3? And I'd just be like trying to clap it out. But I realized that if my teacher just made me stand up and try and do a box step, it would make life so much easier, because I realized, this couldn't be, it could be 4/4, because otherwise it'd be 4/4 and you'd be going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. That's just stupid. You couldn't phrase anything in a bar of that. Or like a simple box step would show you 1 2 3. So in that sense, it made me realize the importance of rhythms. It's changed what I listen to. Also, thanks to Max, who is the head of jazz band, who lives in my house. He is absolutely obsessed with disco, so I am now obliged to love disco.
So what would you recommend then for us as musicians, and also any musicians listening, that they should take up dance as a hobby?
I mean, I've tried Max several times to get him to do Strictly this year, but he does not want to do it. There was a fun thing I did with Max, again, the RUBLS jazz band leader, where I made him stand up and try and work out the rhythms with his feet of various songs I did with him. So like, I did some jives, which is like, a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and again it's like a cha-cha, or you can move out like 2 3 cha-cha-cha, and he had absolutely no idea what I was on about. And then I put on I think it might have been Smooth by Santana actually, and told him to think about these rhythms while he was playing. Obviously he plays the bass, and think about these rhythms while playing it, and I think he just instantly locked into this really good groove, and it opened up so much like potential of playing, which, I personally wouldn't have discovered before. I'm sure there might be other ways, but that's how I found it.
I would never have thought of that link between dance and music in such a way. I mean, obviously they're linked parties, but I would never have thought about it in such a way. So that's really interesting.
So obviously things are kind of on hold at the moment, but have you got anything, in the pipeline that might be coming up this year?
Yeah, so we actually just submitted an entry to an online competition hosted by University of Birmingham, which is coming up soon. Instead of doing it in a ballroom with like 200 of the students, because like the varsity circuit is massive, we'll just be doing it in our own living rooms and submitting it. And then I think they'll be doing like a kind of results show 2 weeks after, which I think would be really fun. And a good thing to do in the meantime, to be honest, because let's be honest, we're all looking for a goal in some sort. And competitions are always really like a big part of training for me as a big goal. So it's nice to have that again after a year. Trying to work out a way to Strictly Come Reading. Obviously, it can't happen the same time this year as it did last year, as we'll still probably be in lockdown. If not, definitely, I'm not quite sure. My plan actually was kind of inspired by Ben last year, because bless you, Ben, you have so many, once I suggested to you that we do Strictly Come Reading, you were like an excited puppy.
Oh, I love the show.
Exactly, it's a great show. So I thought, past the kind of live aspect of it, it is still a really good opportunity for students and, to raise some money for charities. So I thought we can still work out some way for it to go forward with those core values, even if it's not a live show. I'm currently thinking about possibly doing like pre-recorded sections with one couple in at a time, and just like, the judges and the host there as well. But we'll see what comes of it, really. Training's been kind of put on hold till end of March anyway, so we'll have to see what we can do.
Yeah, well, I very much watch this space, I think. But it sounds like you've got some, you've got some ideas of how it might work, and who knows where we'll be, after Easter. So, we won't
presume,
but we'll see what happens. But it does sound very, very exciting. Have you got any final sort of comments or sort of soapbox moments you want to get off your chest before?
I've got a question for you guys for last year actually, and that is, how did it feel to? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the first time, but how does it feel for you guys in the jazz band when you're up there and you've got an audience that aren't just listening, they're doing something with their music. How did it feel? Did it like affect your playing at all?
Well, it damaged our egos.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
No, I'm joking.
That night went by in a flash, because James, you were just there because you did your voiceover afterwards, because we were the pre-recorded show. But so you were just there to perform. I was running around the entire. In fact, I tripped over wires like behind audience members on that night, running with different camera angles and maintaining the floor management of all the other camera crew I had with me, and then running on stage last minute to jump. So I found performing like my little bit of rest. So I was just like, oh, I'm just happy now. I'm just in my little world. So
yeah. I mean, I've played in pit bands before, so for shows. So I have experience in that aspect of things, but I've never done it where I'm on stage. So I'm being watched, but also they're watching something else. So that was an experience for me. And I think the main thing I found was, like you said, trying to adapt, our playing and make sure that our playing is exactly as required for the dancers.
Yeah, we've got to be
in time for them, and
yeah.
we as jazz musicians, we have a bit less freedom than we normally would have, because obviously if we go off on sort of tangents or kind of mix things up a bit, that's going to completely throw off the dancers.
It was a good challenge to have, and it was very enjoyable. But
no, I really, joking aside, I really did enjoy it, and I thought it was a really fantastic opportunity, and I thank you for the opportunity, and I did like knowing that we were kind of contributing to this bigger picture.
It did feel like
it was a very collaborative event.
Yeah.
And so I knew that for the audience watching, the end result they were getting was something much bigger and much better than either us or the dancers could produce on our own, which was, really lovely.
I absolutely agree, yeah. I mean, please forgive me if I'm wrong. It sounds like, as I said earlier, when you've got someone kind of doing something with your music, but they're using like specific rhythms, it really throws you off, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, one thing we did notice is we had to change up part of the tunes. We had to change the tempo slightly for this sort of slightly more cha-cha-cha rhythm. And that was quite an experience for us, because we had to sort of,
This is a song that we had played religiously for like nearly 2 years. And suddenly we were having to play it differently.
Yeah, revamp it. And it was, but it was quite nice to have that challenge. Thank you very much, Rich. That is all we've got time for today. But thank you very much for speaking to us. I'm sure we'll have you back on someday. Hopefully, when we know what's going on, we can actually promote an event. But yeah, thank you very much. Follow RUBLS. You're on social media. You're on all of them: Twitter, Instagram.
Well, yeah. Thank you very much for having me, both of you. Looking forward to doing this again. If you have something to promote, maybe we can break out some instruments and make a little jam, and I'll show you all these things I've got in principle right now. But yeah, we're on Facebook, RUBLS Official, Instagram, Reading RUBLS. We're on the RUTV page. You can find us on there. But yeah, thank you both for having me. It's been
no
really
worries.
fun.
And make sure you check out also Strictly Come Reading on YouTube. You'll find that on the RUTV page on YouTube, as Ben said.
There'll be links everywhere.
Yeah.
I like to self-promote.
And keep your eyes out for the events that could be coming up. Thank you very much, Rich.
Thank you both.
So that's all we've got time for on this episode of the UoR Music Podcast. Have you had a good time, Ben?
I love it when you ask me this. I'm gonna find a different way to say yes every time. C.
Did you enjoy our little dance discussion?
I did, and it's inspired me to want to go dance, but I probably won't.
Well, we could have a little dance now.
This is why you should. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. See all these dance moves.
But I think this is very good for the listeners at home, because they don't have to see this. Let's give a description. What we were doing there, we were sitting on swivel chairs, waggling our arms together.
Who doesn't want to watch that?
So thank you very much for listening and /or watching. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yep. Make sure to follow us on social media. I'm sure you can find the link somewhere wherever we post all these
bits and bobs.
Thank
you very much to Rich Sawyer for being our special guest for this week. Go and check out all of the RUBLS stuff.
They are a great society.
They are a great society.
They've got a lot going on for lockdown.
And hopefully we'll get to see Strictly Come Reading return at some point.
Fingers crossed.
In the near future. Otherwise, should we do a Strictly but for a podcast?
Yeah.
Keep podcasting.